Hey everybody, my name is Jay Hill, and I have a cool story about my son, Little J or Lil J. His full name is Jelani Charles William Hill, named after myself and both of his grandfathers. Jay was born 3 months premature. He was born at 24 and a half weeks, approximately. He was only 15 ounces when he was born. He actually lost weight after he was born and dropped down to 13 ounces. So what happened was the day that everything happened, my wife and I were just having a regular Wednesday evening, I believe, or Tuesday evening, and she complained of heartburn. We were eating tacos, so I blamed it on some taco sauce or something like that, and but it persisted and never went away. And so we kind of monitored her throughout the night and see if it was going away, and it just never would go away. And she described the feeling as heartburn at first, and then she kind of felt the this piercing feeling like through her back as well. And so first thing in the morning, we got up, went to well, we weren't smart. We went to the OBGYN, and then they sent us across the street to the hospital because they said, something doesn't seem right. And so we go over to the hospital, and they said, you have preeclampsia, and you need to go have this baby right now, and you're very sick. And so my wife was rushed from the Huntersville Novant Hospital down to Presbyterian Hospital in close to uptown Charlotte. And basically there was a parade of nurses and doctors who came to check on her, and then it became a waiting game about how like she couldn't get too sick, as well as to try to give our son enough time as possible in her body. And so finally we go a day of this back and forth talking with the doctors. Then the next morning, they rush in the room around, I don't know, 5:30 a.m. and say, it's time to give birth. And so I remember getting up, and my whole family, they knew what was going on. They had come to visit her and I in the hospital that day before. And so we go in, and they do a C-section. And I remember, well, first seeing the inside of my wife's body was something totally, something that I'll never forget. I love you, baby. But then seeing my son in this just little weedy thing, he was 10 inches long. And I remember the first time seeing him, he had this white, toboggan or a little stocking cap or whatever on his head, and he was in some type of, I don't know, to me it looked like a clear, like a Ziploc bag. I don't know what he was in, but he was in something. And I remember walking up, and they said, here's your son, what's his name? And I said, his name is Lil J. And he was like, Lil J, are you Big J? And I said, yes, I am. And then I remember him being in the being in the isolate, and we couldn't hold him, we couldn't touch him for a while. I remember him getting jaundice while he was in the isolate. As I mentioned, he lost weight while he was in the hospital. But I remember my first time seeing him. I've always been a spiritual man. I've always, believed in God. I've always grown up in the church. But that was the first time I felt like this is a miracle, because my first time seeing him, like everything was perfect. Like his little hands, his little legs and feet. When he would cry, you could barely hear his voice at all. And one of the amazing things is that when this is my ring, that I could slide my ring all the way up. I could put it over his foot and slide it all the way up his leg. That's how small he was. And so we named him our miracle child. And so we for the next 3 months. Of course, the hardest thing to do was to leave the hospital and not take our baby home. That was really tough for my wife. But we came to visit him every day. All of our family came to visit him. And so that was something that was really traumatic for us. It took me a while as a husband to get over that. It was tough trying to push through and going to work every day. My wife having to go back to work, and then us going to see him after work every day for 3 months was really tough. But we had a lot of support. We had amazing doctors, and so after 3 months, he was able to come home on oxygen. I believe he was maybe around 5 pounds when he finally got out of the hospital. Just a weedy little thing, even at that point. I guess something to really remember was when we went to go do our meeting with the doctor, the OBGYNs, and all those folks. Afterwards, they said that if my wife had taken a baby aspirin during her pregnancy, that potentially this may not have happened. And so, that was something that maybe if that was the case, I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor, but if that was the case, that was something that I wish I would have known, something I wish that, we could have figured out. I'm not sure if there was a way to know that. I'm not sure, but that's what we were told at the time. And so I'm proud to say that little Jay is now bigger Jay. He can wear the same size shoe as myself. He's 14 years old, about to turn 15 years old, and is in the high school honor roll student. Amazing kid. Loves to play pickleball with me. And so we're blessed to have an amazing kid. But that's my story about the birth of our son. Thank you.